Welcome back, everyone. Thanks so much for tuning in. This week's project is my first attempt at a live edge bowl. Back in the day when we used to have live meetings, I attended a meeting for the Utah Association of Woodturners, and I apologize, but I can't remember the guy's name. He gave a fascinating demonstration on how to do a live edge bowl, and I was intrigued, to say the least, so I decided to give it my effort here. If you haven't already joined a club in your area, I would highly recommend it. These demonstrators are awesome, and they do a phenomenal job of teaching you new things and maybe reiterating things that you already knew. This is a bowl made from cottonwood from a very large tree that was cut down in our neighborhood. I actually started this bowl several months ago and just finished drying about a month ago, so I decided to finish it off. Holy cow, this thing had quite the learning curve to it. I think up until this point I hadn't turned anything that was green wood, so it was really fun to see how green wood turned. In this scene, I'm just roughing out the outside of the bowl, getting its outer shape. I would be remiss if I didn't say a special thank you to all of my subscribers. I know 100 subscribers may not be a lot to some of you, but that means a lot to me, and we finally reached that milestone. So, thank you so much for being a part of this journey. And here I'm just getting the bottom ready and making a tenon so I can put it in the chuck. And now I have it turned around and in the chuck, and I still have that wobble when I turn things around into the chuck. I've got to look into that, I guess. But anyway, I'm just touching up the outside of the bowl. In retrospect, I'm not sure why I'm putting so much effort into a tiny wobble, since this thing's gonna warp anyway because it's green, but here we are. Now we're on to the fun part. The thing that the demonstrator kept reiterating was that you do the sides as you go. Once you're finished with that part of the bowl, you don't go back to it. Also, you leave the meat of the bowl as you go to give support to the outside of the edge cuts. So here I'm just taking my time going down the side of the bowl, making sure it's even as I go, so I don't have to come back and make any unsupported cuts. I think my motto for 2020 is I had no intention of making one of these type of bowls, but I'm glad I did. I really did not want to do a live edge bowl. I like how they look, but that wasn't really my cup of tea per se. But like I just mentioned, I'm really glad I did, because I think this turned out pretty dang cool. Another thing that the demonstrator reiterated was that You want to put super glue around the edge where the bark is to keep it intact. So that is what I'm doing here. The idea behind this type of live edge bowl is that once you've touched this, you're not going to touch it again. It's not a rough turn, and then when it dries, you're going to finish turn it. This is a one-shot go. So I'm trying to get this as thin as I can as I go. And then once it dries, of course, it'll warp, but that's part of the charm of this type of bowl. One thing I should mention, though, is since this is kind of a one-shot go type of bowl, I probably should have paid a little more attention to the tool marks that I made. This is still kind of early in my turning, so I didn't really give this as much attention as I should have. But I probably should have at least gone over it with an 80 grit sandpaper to get rid of some of them, because this thing was a nightmare to sand when it was all said and done. All right, now in this scene I have the bowl mounted to the chuck, which is mounted to the Trent Bosch carving jig. This hooks directly into the banjo on the lathe, and it allows for easy access to the bowl for sanding and carving and such. And I can't tell you how invaluable this thing was for sanding. It was incredible to use. I highly recommend one if you have the opportunity. In this scene, I'm just repairing some of the bark that fell off, despite my best efforts to keep it on there. It's like a little jigsaw puzzle. There, we got it. Okay guys, I know in almost every video I say that I cut out quite a bit of sanding, and you're welcome. This time I really mean it. I think I spent 4 or 5 hours sanding this stupid bowl. But in the end, I guess it was worth it. And now I'm just going through the usual finishing process. Denatured alcohol, Mylands sanding sealer, Yorkshire Grit, yada yada. It has been about a month since I finished this, and another little piece of the bark has fallen off. If any of you have any tips or tricks on how to keep the bark from falling off, will you please let me know in the comments below? Thanks so much. And then the Megan stamp of approval. And here I've just got it reverse mounted. I think I have it in a jam chuck of some sort. And just making sure that the bottom is flush so it'll stand properly. Some more sanding and finishing, and we're all set. I hope you guys enjoyed this live edge cottonwood bowl. Thank you so much to my subscribers. If you haven't already, please consider subscribing. Please like the video and comment below. Stay awesome, everyone. Love to all.